Welcome, dear viewers, to Tales of Terror, the channel that delves deep into terrifying myths and spine-tingling mysteries. Prepare to be enchanted as we embark on a journey where the ringing phone unveils a mythical story shrouded in darkness. Are spoken words the key to revealing the truth that lies within? Subscribe to Tales of Terror and join our community, where you can interact and share your strange experiences. Prepare for a spine-tingling ride that will make you question the very fabric of reality. Look out for the darkness ahead.
Let's start the story. The continuous ringing of the phone paves the way for a legendary story to come to life. Are their words the key to uncovering the truth? Recently, the city has been plagued by a sudden increase in deaths and suicides, particularly in the residential area near my home. It is whispered that the horrific legend of panic has re-emerged. Despite having resided here for 4 years, I was still oblivious to the strange happenings surrounding this mystery. The people of this city are special, with their beliefs in esoteric practices, quackery, and sorcery. Fraudsters thrive, preying on the gullibility of those steeped in customs and superstitions passed down through generations. Years of schooling and pursuing a PhD in psychology led me to protect my family from these nonsensical tales. I refuse anyone who tries to engage me in such discussions and unleash my anger on them. Alas, this alone proves insufficient, for our neighbors, who are drawn to my wife Annie like moths to a flame, insist that we leave our apartment at once. According to them, the frightening myth of panic has returned, and Mouradi is seeking the harshest revenge because the horrors of the past still haunt our memories. Out of curiosity, she listened intently to Annie's alarming words, her firm belief confirmed by the horror in her eyes. Her hands trembled as she desperately tried to hide her fear from me, but her body betrayed her every emotion. Legend has it that decades ago, a curse shrouded this very place. She began, her voice tinged with a mixture of dread and conviction. Answer your phone after midnight, and a malevolent being materializes, convincing you of self-destruction, relentlessly torturing your mind until surrender is the only option. However, the people of this region once devised a way to break free from the grip of the curse. In a desperate gambit, the charlatans unite, vowing to open a portal to a force that can end the curse. But the price demanded was high, an offering of countless lives, including infants and the blood of sacrificial animals. In a moment of great reckoning, an honored visitor descended upon the area. They decree that to ensure the survival of the rest, sacrifices must be made for their children. In the end, they succeeded in renouncing the curse, albeit temporarily, unaware that it would return years later with a vengeance far exceeding its initial power. I answered him with a hint of irony, these interesting stories. Maybe I'll craft a terrifying children's bedtime story. But for now, let me rest and dream of spine-tingling tales. She was more distant than usual, and her mind seemed absent, even in her sleep. Every time her work phone rang, her body trembled and shook uncontrollably. Her condition worsened with each passing day, and I desperately tried to convince her that everything was fine. I couldn't leave the house at this point, because she was clinging to it and believing everything she was told. I had to make her see that it was all a lie. Night after night, we were awakened by the sound of piercing screams reverberating throughout the neighborhood. Each day brought with it a new suicide, more terrifying than the last. Then, one fateful morning, we woke up in a panic to find a wildfire burning dangerously close to our house. Panic ensued as everyone rushed into the streets, while fire engines struggled to fight the blaze, its intensity proving too much to handle. In the chaos, something caught my eye, a figure defiantly standing in the window of the burning house. Flames devoured everything around him, but this person remained intact, looking strange in the midst of hell. I grabbed my phone, activated the camera, zoomed in, and focused on the figure. The closer you look, the more distinct their features become. Hours passed as the fire was finally extinguished, and the panic gradually subsided. Eager to know more, I checked the photo I took, but to my surprise, it revealed an empty window. Nobody stands there. I was sure that I saw them. Did I go crazy? 2 days after the fire incident, fear began to grip us tightly, and my 2 children asked me, in the midst of it all, how they should behave if the curse appeared before them. A friend of mine had a rented apartment in a remote location, and though it would take some convincing, I knew I had to assure my kids that swearing was nothing more than anecdotes. That night, I was suddenly awakened by my phone ringing. I glanced at the time. It was 2 o'clock in the morning. The number on the screen remained unknown. With a mixture of fear and curiosity, I answered the call. "Welcome?" I spoke cautiously to the recipient. In a world devoid of calls, a piercing whistle shattered the silence, growing louder and more agonizing by the second. A searing pain coursed through my stomach, prompting me to hastily end the call. But the persistent ringing resumed, and against my better judgment, I answered once more, only to be met with that same piercing whistle, now more potent and excruciating than ever before. It was an overpowering force. As the electricity abruptly vanished, plunging me into darkness, I struggled to make out my surroundings. The feeble glow of my phone's light offered a faint glimpse of the unknown. And there, standing before me, was a figure with features blurred and a visage that sent chills down my spine. His hand seemed to penetrate into my very being, unleashing an unbearable agony. The pain became unbearable, and in a haze, I felt my body in motion. My vision was obscured, and I suddenly heard the sound of screams. It was my own voice. My wife tightly gripped my hands, the rushing wind caressing my face, and then I saw it. I was standing precariously on the edge of the balcony wall. How had I arrived there? You intervened, saving me from the brink, but what unfolded hours later was a harrowing nightmare. They say I had tried to harm my own children, brandishing a knife, yet I cannot recall any of those moments. My body had become a vessel beyond my control. Desperation left me with no choice but to be confined within the asylum's walls. I distanced myself from my family, my precious children, and my wife. I insisted on no visitors, fearing the unpredictable darkness that consumed me. I cannot discern the passage of time within these confines, but the curse lingers, its grip on me weakened. No, perhaps I am the curse personified. Madness pervades this place. Fellow patients succumb to the allure of suicide. Even the hospital staff recount eerie encounters, receiving haunting calls in the dead of night, pursued by a grotesque entity devoid of features. Strangely, since my arrival, nothing has befallen me. Yet those around me suffer, trapped in a growing spiral of self-destruction. I sense his presence beside me, to the point where I question my very essence.
Today's story is over. Our stories are not over yet. See you tomorrow in a new day of horror. Goodbye.